everything is going well. Today I'm going to just go over the start of chapter 9. It is the only section that we have to do that revolves around probability. And so it's important that you just make sure that you have a base understanding of the vocabulary needed. Now, unlike the past where it was all factual based, in this section, you're going to need to be able to defend your answers. So it's very important that when you are looking at the problems that are going to be coming up with probability in society, that you are really thinking about the best possible answer and that you are able to provide evidence as to why that is the best possible answer. So at the end of this section, you should be able to understand the role of probability in society. And you should remember that probability refers to the likelihood that an event will occur. So by collecting and analyzing the data, predictions can be made about the likelihood that a certain event will occur. So in the past, we've only done theoretical probability, which is what should happen, and experimental probability, which means it's what does happen when we try it. And now we're going to be looking at what should, what does, and then we're going to put our own predictions on that data. So, for an example, meteorologists study past weather data to make predictions about the future conditions. A 40% probability of snow means that under similar conditions in the past, it snowed 40% of the time, or 4 out of 10. So a probability of 40% can be expressed as 4 out of 10, 4 over 10 as a fraction form, or 0.4 as decimal form. So ratio, fraction, decimal, percent, all the different ways that we can kind of show the probability. So they use what did happen to make predictions about what will happen in the future. So the key words that you need to know: theoretical probability, the number of favorable outcomes written as a fraction of the total number of possible outcomes. So again, theoretical, what should happen. If I had a dice and I wanted to know what's the likelihood that I roll a 5, well, there is 1 5 on the dice. There are 6 sides to a dice. My theoretical probability would be 1 out of 6. Experimental probability is the probability of an event calculated from experimental results. So I would have actually had to take out a dice and I would have had to roll it numerous times, mark down the responses that I got, and then try and make a comparison if it was close to theoretical probability. Now, if my experiment was a good experiment, then it should be similar the more tries of the experiment I do to being the same as the theoretical probability. And the new word that you need to learn this year is subjective judgment. And that means that the person feels strongly that one outcome will be more favorable than others. So an example of this could be as simple as, what is the chance that the ball goes in the net? So if you think about it theoretically, it should go in, it's either in or it's out. Those are the two options, in or out. It's 1 out of 2 chances that the ball goes in the net. However, if we take basketball, for example, so what's the chances that you get a basket in from the free throw? Does that change your odds compared to if you are right under the net? Or if you play on a basketball team, does that change your odds compared to someone who does not play on the basketball team? So these are all subjective judgment decisions that you make based on your own opinion. So the types of things you're going to see is this: explain how each decision is based on theoretical probability, experimental probability, subjective judgment, or any combination of these. It is Ozma's experience that 4 out of 5 times the prize in a cereal box is found at the bottom of the box. So Ozma opens the box of the cereal, or opens the bottom of the cereal box to find her prize. That is experimental probability. She based her decision based on what did happen, not what should, but what did in past experiments. Two friends are rolling a die. Out of 8 rolls made, a 4 came up 7 times. A myth predicts the next roll will likely not be a 4, since each number has an equal chance of being rolled. And Maria decides the die is unfair since 7 out of 8 rolls revealed a 4. So explain how each decision is based on theoretical, experimental, subjective, or a combination. Well, a missed decision is based on the theoretical probability. She knows the probability of rolling the number is 1 out of 6. So because it's only a 1 out of 6 chance, she doesn't think it's going to happen again because it already happened 7 times. Based on the experimental probability, Maria makes a subjective judgment that the die is unfair because each number should have equal probability of being rolled. So because it did not follow the theoretical probability, because it was not close, she is saying that it is not fair. That is her judgment. That is her opinion. And example number 2. In the past baseball games, Alice made 2 hits for every 5 times she went to bat. In the next game, suppose Alice goes up to bat 5 times. What is the probability that she will get a hit? What assumptions are you making? So the experimental probability of Alice hitting a ball is 2 out of 5, or 40%. We can assume that the next team Alice plays against is at the same ability level as the previous teams. We assume that Alice has not been injured. Okay, so if all of these other things are true, if this other team's levels is the same, if she's not injured, she's not ill, she gets to go up to bat the same amount of times as she has in the past. So if all conditions are favorable, we can assume that she will have a similar record. For each assumption, explain how the predicted outcomes might change if the assumption changes. So if I change that opinion, if the opposing team is more able or Alice is injured, the likelihood that Alice has a hit would be less than 2 out of 5. And if the opposing team is less able, the likelihood that Alice has a hit would be greater than 2 out of 5. So if she's playing the worst team in the league or the best team in the league, her odds would also change. So this is how our subjective judgment can impact what is happening. So I hope that this makes sense for you. If you have any questions, please make sure you send me an email or a message in Classroom. Have a great day.